welcome back to my channel. Today I have got a simple sewing project for you. It is the easiest baby blanket ever. That's what I'm calling it. I designed this tutorial so that you don't need to have a cutting mat or a rotary blade. You can just have a pair of fabric scissors. And I am going to tell you exactly what kind of yardage to buy at the store to maximize the amount of fabric that you're going to be purchasing, not to have a lot of leftover. If you don't sew a lot, you just kind of do a few things here and there. You don't want all this extra fabric that you paid for. So this kind of maximizes the amount of fabric that you are buying, kind of get the most bang for your buck, and it's super easy. And I will also have a blog post linked underneath the video in the About box that will have the written instructions and the materials all listed out for you, as well as some additional measurements and things if you wanted to make a little bit smaller size. So let's get going. I'm going to show you all the steps on how to make it.
All right, everybody, let's get going. What you are going to need to do is pre-wash your fabric. Isn't this blanket just so adorable? You're going to want to pre-wash and iron it. At the store, you need to get 1.5 yards of this cotton print, and then you need to get 1.25 yards of the minky. Next, you're going to lay everything out. On the floor would be good, or on a table if it's big enough. You're going to put your right sides together and smooth it all around so that it's nice and there's no bubbles or wrinkles. Now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to use that cotton fabric and cut the minky from around it. So this way you're going to utilize the cuts that they did at the store, and you won't have to do any fancy cutting. Next, don't move your fabric. Just go ahead and pin it right after you trim it. The minky tends to stretch a little bit and it can get wonky. So you want to pin it all nicely in place before you start moving it around. You can see I have it pinned all the way around. A good way to do this might be on the floor or on a nice big table. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is take it over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to use a 5/8 seam allowance. So find that mark on your sewing machine and get started. Back stitch first, and then you're going to go ahead and sew it all the way around. This thread will be hidden, but you do want to use some sort of a coordinating thread when you do this project. Now you're going to want to make sure the minky is on the bottom side, because the feed dogs of the sewing machine are going to be pulling that through, so it'll be nice and even. When you get to the corners, make sure that when you pivot your foot, your fabric is going to hit that 5/8 seam allowance. The other thing to keep in mind is I have my walking foot on my machine. It does help a little bit, but if you don't have a walking foot, you can still definitely do this project. Just go nice and slow and let the feed dogs really pull the fabric through and kind of help it along on the top. Take your pins out as you go along, and you're going to sew all the way around. Now I've gotten to the end, and you're going to leave about a 6-inch opening. So back stitch, and then take the blanket off of your sewing machine. You can see right about there is how far I have just those 2 pins. Take the 2 pins out, and then you're going to trim your corners. So leaving about a 1/8 space between that corner and where you're trimming. Don't snip your threads. Do that on all 4 corners, and then you're going to trim all the way around. Make sure you leave a little bit of opening. Don't trim too much on your opening. Make sure that you have enough to fold inside so that we can sew that down. Now the next thing you're going to do is pull the blanket right side out and stick your hand in the blanket and pop all those corners out nicely so that they have a nice sharp point, like you see there. Now the next thing we're going to do is pin that opening closed. So just kind of pull it sideways and get those edges nicely lined up. This is going to make sure that we don't see where that opening was. So pin that all nicely into place, and then what we're going to do is sew all the way around. We're going to use a 1/4 seam allowance for this one, so find that mark on your machine. Use a coordinating thread because you will see this thread this time, and then go nice and slow all the way around. When you get to that opening, just make sure you're using your fingers and nicely hold everything nice and straight. You can kind of roll the seam in between your fingers and kind of get that nice and flat before you sew over it, so there's no ripples or anything like that. So keep sewing all the way around. Take those pins out. Super easy project. This is a really good way to practice sewing your straight lines. Super fun. I just love this fabric too. So take this all the way around. Make sure you do the same thing with your corners. Back stitch when you are done And that's it. You are done. I hope you enjoyed making this easiest baby blanket ever.
Okay guys, that was it. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, leave me a comment below. And don't forget to check out my blog, melaniecaham.com, and that will have all of the additional instructions and some additional measurements and some different things over there that you can use to modify this if you need to. Also, don't forget to, thumbs up, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share this video with your friends. You have a new friend that has learned how to sew or got a sewing machine for Christmas. It would be a great video for them to see. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!